warm welcome back on our official channel of RG Media 360. Today in this episode, we have our special guest all the way from Kuwait, Mr. Ian Perso from PACE.
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing?
Very good. Good to be here.
Great. We would like to know, let's say now life in real estate begins with great strategy and planning. Without experienced architects, it is not possible to have a dream home or a dream office. What's your take on that?
I don't know. I think that when you're talking about domestic architecture or small office developments, character is more important than architecture, and the value is in real emotion and interest, personal interest being put into those projects. So if you're designing your own home, it doesn't matter whether you're an architect or not. If you have a vision, if you have a dream for something, then my role as an architect, or the role of an interior designer, is to make that dream happen, and try to deliver on it.
And how do you ensure that the house you draw on paper will be a designer delight to work on?
How do I ensure that an interior designer would like to work in my projects?
Yes.
I think that's about getting close collaboration with interior designers from a really early stage. So that's about going back into the briefing. It's about going into the space programming and understanding how the way that a space is used influences the architecture. You know, architecture, there's two schools of thought in my view about architecture. One is that the architect should have a very strong vision and make sure that everyone follows him. That's one way of doing it. The other way is to be responsive and facilitate other disciplines, whether they're interior designers or engineers, coming forward and influencing the space. You look around this exhibition here today, there's some fantastic furniture, there's some fantastic lighting installations, and those things can make a difference to architecture. So it's about making sure that the architect is able to understand what other designers want and find a way of bringing it all together. 1 + 1 can equal 3, or even 5.
Oh, that's good. And now when we say contemporary architecture, what we just heard in your session here, the concept of affordable housing here, as well as the boutique style offices, is picking up pace in the market. Can you describe on these trends?
I think that affordable housing is really important because architecture shouldn't, and quality design shouldn't just be about the elite. It shouldn't just be about those members of our societies who are able to afford it.
Yeah.
Architecture and design quality should facilitate access. Should be facilitating access for everybody. How does architecture and design influence society? Well, it's fundamental. We all experience spaces. So making really high quality, affordable offices and affordable housing is important. Boutique offices and boutique hotels in particular is something slightly different. And I think that's about localism and about people understanding and experiencing something very local and together. We spoke in the panel discussion I just enjoyed about architecture bringing people together, allowing incidental meetings, and that's about people understanding the location of where they are, the very different location of where they are. So experiencing each place is really important.
And when we say affordable housing, how it has evolved over the years, when you must have seen the difference, I'm sure, as an architect with so many years of experience. So the involvement, how far is it, and when did it start evolve to
affordable housing?
Yeah.
Listen, you can go back 100 years into programs that were generated around the world for homes for heroes after the First World War. Providing quality housing for people, and you can take that forwards.
Yes.
So governments have sponsored that idea for many years, many generations. I think what's important moving forward is that we focus on issues of sustainability. I'm the RIBA's representative for Kuwait, and the RIBA has announced a climate crisis, a climate emergency actually.
Right.
And so we all have to look at issues of climate change in whatever we do. And sometimes that's about scale of developments and making things appropriate to their situation. And I think affordable housing is one of the outputs of that focuses on addressing what the problem is, understanding what the problem is, and delivering a solution which is appropriate for it in a sustainable way.
And since you've been an architect for like, I guess, around 16?
Hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years, right. Now, which is one of your most complex and significant project, and what was the issues that you came across, challenges?
Do you know, every project is unique and every project's a challenge. I haven't come across an easy project so far. You know, they all have their challenges. One of the first projects I worked on was the veterinary hospital in the UK. That was challenging because the client was very focused on what he wanted, but really didn't have a great deal of funding to deliver it. More recently, I've delivered some very large projects like the Avenues in Kuwait, projects like the new Palace of Justice in Kuwait, and other projects around the region, very large-scale projects. And they have different sets of challenges. So every project is unique.
And which is the most closest to your heart that you actually loved working on, and like that was one of the significant projects so far?
I'll talk about two. Before I came to this region, I did a project in China, which is a sustainable housing project, which was designed to zero carbon principles and delivered unique living environments, sustainable living environments for the tenants.
Wow.
So that's a project which was really close to my heart.
Okay.
More recently, projects. I think the extension to the Avenues in Kuwait has been a really exciting project to work on. Not necessarily because of the architecture, but because of the impact that it has on the quality of life in Kuwait.
Okay.
So that's a huge project, but it gives people a new meeting place, a new place where people can come together and have those incidental meetings that I talked about earlier.
Right, okay. And now, with years of experience in architecture so far, is there any advice you would like to give to our viewers? Any future architects that's coming up? So, any advice?
Do law, maybe is advice. No, I think that you have to have a passion for it. You know, architecture is not a career. It's not just a job. You really have to want to do it. You have to feel the idea of creating spaces and creating places for people to live and work in. So, what I'd say to young aspiring architects is look around you, understand that every part of our cities, every part of our urban environments is designed, and as an architect, you can influence that and you can change people's lives. If you make a mistake, you'll change people's lives in a bad way. If you make a positive intervention, you'll change people's lives in a really good way, and people will remember that. And people will hopefully, they'll forget all about the architecture, and they'll enjoy meeting people and finding joy in their life, and love, and crying, and happiness and sadness, and every other emotion that goes with that. So architecture can facilitate all of that, and just understand the power of what you do.
And when we say architecture and interior designer that works on side by side, so have you had any, let's say, projects where the interior designer, like you felt like it was very hard to convey the design that you were trying to convey to the interior designer? Like how's it working with interiors?
I mean, you get a good interior designer and he adds so much to a project. And interior designers can be really valuable to a project. I did you won't think of this in necessarily as traditional interior design. I worked on a project in Libya many years ago, where we were designing some university projects, and the interior designer there got involved in looking at the space programming and the organising of the space, and that fundamentally changed the project. And that was a really positive intervention by the interior designer. So I think when you get an interior designer and an architect working together, collaborating, understanding what each other can do and adds value, it can be such a powerful collaboration.
Thank you so much for your time.
Really nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our channel, and I hope you have liked this episode. With the promise to bring you more updates, this is your host Ritu signing off. Till we meet again.